Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Career Talk series. Our guest for today breaks the top news with impeccable style and great impact. In her decade-long experience, Miss Nabila Jamal has fiercely covered crime, politics and environment, which has won her national acclaim. I, Shreya, along with my co-hosts Sushant, Madhushri and Rishabh, will interact with our esteemed guest as we get to know more about her personal experiences, career opportunities, and the queries we have in general when it comes to journalism as a career. Before we begin, I request my co-host Sushant to introduce our guest for the day.
Thank you, Shreya. Ms. Nabila Jamal, Deputy Editor, India Today Network, is a seasoned journalist with a career spanning over a decade. Ms. Nabila has led the editorial team in areas of national affairs, including politics, defense, commerce, and other areas of human interest. She also anchors the daily afternoon show of India Today, where she speaks about the top breaking news. She also works for the TV9 in the South India wing. Ms. Nabila is known to be a vocal advocate for women's rights and empowerment. She is also the president of a trust running education institutions in Bangalore, providing education to ones in need.
Thank you so much, Sushant.
Thank you, Sushant. We are truly honored to host such a distinguished professional. Now I request Madhushri to take the conversation ahead.
Sure. So starting off basic, what inspired you to become a journalist?
See, days like this when I get to sit right in the center of the of a group and get interviewed, yeah, that's what inspired me to be a journalist. But jokes apart, I think my inspiration was the fact that journalism is a profession where you're able to speak your mind, and I've been someone who's always wanted to speak my mind, wanted to be heard, and the profession itself is very attractive and appealing to those who aren't in it. Now that I'm in it, you still ask me if I still want to be in it, is a different answer that I'd probably give you, but yeah. What's inspired me to take up journalism, I think it's all the glitz and glamour and the excitement to be in front of the cameras, because I am a flamboyant, bold and expressive person. So I think that's the most basic reason to why I would say I got into the media. Then my reasons changed. Obviously there's a larger cause today that I want to talk on a lot of issues that are pressing. Yeah, and as you mature and as you grow older, you have real issues and real inspirations. But maybe at your age, it was just the cameras that got me in.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, has the journey so far been challenging? If yes, what were those challenges?
Gosh,
How did you handle them?
Every second year I almost quit. So it has been really, really challenging because like every other profession, I'd say even journalism is highly competitive. You have lots of great people, and I certainly feel that all four of you, once you're in the profession or if you're going to be entering the media, will give me tough competition because y'all are so awesome. No, but honestly, you have great talent in the field of journalism and lots who have great ideas. So you got to keep innovating and reinventing yourself to match up. I would say as a woman it's a separate challenge. And then there are several other challenges which you overcome. But I wouldn't say this is limited to journalism alone. I think every profession, every highly competitive field has struggles of this kind, and yeah, it's all life's lessons that come to use with any profession, including journalism.
Next, is there any story or incident that has touched you personally?
Yeah, lots of them. Things like the IMA scam that happened, that was also my story in Karnataka, where there was a lot of money taken in the name of something like a chit fund scheme, where they were promising returns to poor people, and you had the poorest of the poor people, putting money into it, thinking that they're going to get returns, but one day, imagine that place shuts down, and then all that money is gone. So when I went to cover it and get like testimonies of these victims, these people who invested and lost out, one lady I spoke to said that she spent all her life's earnings into that and kept it only so that she can get her daughter married or like for someone's operation. So just imagine that that's the only money you have and it's gone. And they were out back on the streets, and she was crying, but yet not just holding her ground but crying, but that was really heartbreaking. When you see someone really, really helpless, that really reminds you that you're in a profession that has a larger responsibility and not just this glitz and glamour on the cameras. There's so much more to it that molds you over time. And maybe that's why that's encouraged me to stay in journalism. Even though there's so many challenges and so much stress that you want to get out of it every time, then when you see instances like this, you're like, if you want to make a change, maybe being in it will help you make that change.
Right, so I would like to ask you, how do you manage stress at work? I mean, how do you manage to keep up with those?
It's all your passion, right? Like when you have fire burning in your belly, you want to get up and get there and do it. And yeah, I love it. It gives me a thrill like no other. I don't know anything else. This is what I've been doing. My first job has been with the media.
According to you, what is the basic skill set required to be a good journalist?
Honesty. If you say good journalist, I'd say please be honest and please be sincere. Today, everybody looks through the clutter. Nobody is going to, if you can put up an act for a little while, right? After a point, the facade comes off. You can't sustain putting up an act all your life. So you got to be original, honest, sincere, and just true to yourself. You can't, see, if you want to be a good journalist, then you have to make an impact. You can make an impact if you're making a sincere effort and if you're honest towards it. So if everything is a lie right from the start, your impact is also going to be a lie. It's going to be short-lived. But if you're going to be true to yourself and you deliver based on your thought and your mind and your emotion for someone, for example, you want to do a story around a situation, you've got to ensure all facts are presented. No? You can't do anything half-baked. So just remember that if you start, ensure you get to the end. Don't leave it midway and don't do it half-hearted. So if you want to be a good journalist, again, just like any other profession, you've got to have a holistic approach towards anything. So as a journalist also, for me, I think my best trick was to get to the bottom of it. Like I always want to get to the bottom of it. Why did it happen? How did it happen? It's anyway, journalism has those, who, where, when, why, what, all that. No, so just get all the key points, string it together, and there you have a good story, and then you're a good journalist.
So, in your opinion, do you think that journalism has the power to influence the youth? If so, how?
Oh yeah, journalism. See, basically, any kind of narrative has the power to influence the youth. In youth gets influenced, like you will absorb anything I say today. So it's my responsibility to ensure that I'm saying the right things. I never want to influence anybody around me the wrong way. So if anything is being relayed on television, you don't know how many people are watching it. The youth is most certainly today on social media, I guess, mostly audience has shifted from television or mainstream media to watching news on social media, and also to watch news that are coming on mainstream media, clips of it on social media. So nobody sits in front of the TV anymore. You're watching the same TV content on your phone. So it's very easy for the youth to get influenced. But yeah, if you're asking me if they do get influenced, yeah, I think even me, I'm still a youth, man. I still come in the youth category, no? Yeah. You are in that age, especially all of you are in that age where you're like a sponge. You absorb anything and everything. So it's very important, and our responsibility as journalists to ensure that you are shown or you are told the right thing, so you go the right way and you're not influenced the wrong way. And it's dangerous. If anything wrong is said, then I can only imagine what impact it would have, because you guys will get influenced.
According to you, how different is the perspective of an online journalist as compared to a mass media journalist?
So if you're trying to say that what's the difference between social media and influencers online versus someone like me, a mainstream media anchor and journalist, right? So what happens is, most of your online influencers today have no certification, right? They have their credibility is limited only to what they show you on their channel. So if they are showing you something wrong, then who's there to correct them? Nobody is there to tell them that, hey, what you're saying is wrong or right. There is no governing body to regulate the content coming from social media platforms. Versus television channels like ours, like India Today and every other news channel, mainstream news channels, we have a board and a body to crack down on us if we make a mistake. So we can't say foolish things and expect not to face consequences. That's the most basic, that we have our broadcast and media ministry, right? You have the Ministry of Broadcast that actually watches, they have like a body which monitors television channels and the news that is being delivered, and if anything is wrong anywhere, then you get a notice. Every now and then they twist you. If you're wrong, then you got to pay the penalty, and the final punishment would be to cancel your channel's license. That's the regulation. That's how controlled it is, and we've got to ensure we fall in line, because that's as basic. Those are principles, right? Because we are responsible, like you said.
I think along those same lines, how do you think the usage of technology and internet has affected the authenticity of journalism, Alexa?
So, very good question, because it's all blurred. Today the lines are so blurred. You just don't know. First of all, it's so easy to consume news on your phone. And when you talk about phone and mobile content, it's mostly social media. So people are putting up news on social media, influencers who have no news background, who are not journalists, who have never come from or who have no association with any mainstream, legit, credible news channel, are putting up news based on what they see themselves. So I am watching something on a news channel, I am going to interpret it my way and put it. Yes, the government is also looking at tightening social media platforms as well, and even influencers and independent channels, YouTube channels, etc. Many of them have been banned by the government today because a lot of them were actually dispensing fake news. So that's dangerous to the country today, which is now mostly dependent on social media. A lot of you, I'm sure, don't watch news channels. You are on your Insta or your Twitter or all sorts of social media platforms to consume content. So yeah, it's very difficult today to differentiate between fake news and credible news because of the kind of social media platforms that don't have regulation. So the only advice I would give for those people who want to check themselves or want to ensure that they take only credible news is to follow credible platforms, or even if you're consuming content on your phone, ensure that you're consuming content from credible handles. Like if you're on Instagram, you have all your mainstream news channels, like your BBC, for example. Let me not talk Indian news channels, and India Today, since I'm with the channel, I would say follow India Today, follow BBC, follow these credible news outlets. So you know when you're watching someone who's an influencer without a news background saying something, you can match it with what we are saying and then see for yourself. That's how you gauge. Today, that's the only way to do it. Because there's so much freedom that social media guys have, influencers have, that they're beyond control. And India is such a huge country, the scale itself is so huge for you to control everything. It's a little difficult. So can't blame the government either. Each one should, so it's your responsibility to do your own due diligence. If you're following one influencer closely and they're giving you so much content and you're so mesmerized by it, be true to yourself and also cross-check if what they're saying is right. Because sometimes it could be wrong. And you don't want to look foolish the next time you talk about it in front of someone.
So has the usage of social media affected journalism? Like as in your views have changed?
100%. Why do you think mainstream channels today are all hectically trying to jump into the social media space? Like every big channel, mainstream channel today want to have a page on Instagram. They want to have their handles on Twitter. On Facebook, they want to have like a huge, because they realize that if they don't enter that space, then they lose out on their audience to individual content creators. That's the thing. It's easier to believe credible news agencies like ours. Little difficult to believe independent influencers because they have no backing of the news, and no understanding of the news. Their only understanding is based on what they see. So how much can you give them credit? Can't. And it has affected our ratings. Yes, it has, most definitely. Which is why news channels are trying to diversify extensively to catch that audience also, which is online. People, your age group, I don't see a lot of them watching, yeah? Very rarely do I hear a person your age watching television at home. They're all consuming content on their phones, mostly through Instagram, through Twitter, through YouTube, Facebook. These are the platforms you all are consuming content. So I would rather put my effort to ensure that my online stories go and I frame my online stories well, so that I know will reach you faster than what I put up on TV.
Do you think that journalism is being used as a tool for commercialism?
When you say commercialism, you mean money making?
Yes.
That's how life has become. We've become so all around monetary benefits and gains. That's how the world revolves today. So if you are asking me that the media is all like pure and not working towards earning money, I mean obviously that's not true. We all need to get paid. So there are ways that but of course the basic crux of journalism is always there. Like if you may say that one channel is aligned, oh God, they're trying to please the government because they want to get money from the government, this is that. You may say what you want to say, but at the end of it today, at least Indian channels or Indians itself are largely opinionated. So if you may see extreme views on either end, you may see or extreme views of the right, extreme views of the left, people like barking the way you've never seen before. That's because we've become a lot more aggressive as a generation itself. We've become aggressive, we've become opinionated, we want to speak our mind, and guess what? That's making money too.
So when you're collecting your information, how do you make sure that it's completely accurate?
So that's the thing. It's the most basic tenets of journalism that you follow, right? Who, when, where, why, how. I can add 5 more things, but yeah, these are the basics that you ensure you fill in the blanks. And when you get that information, you collate it and you know that that's most credible. In your view, that's most credible. Again, when you say, how do you know if a story is legit or not, you do your due diligence. You have to ensure that you take your information from sources who are credible. I can't just ask a random person on the road about some, story that I'm working on, and I can't take his view as credible. I've got to go to credible sources. I've got to go myself to the spot to verify. I've got to cross-verify if a source gives me an information, only to ensure that the source is right. There's effort that goes into ensuring that your story is foolproof. So are you willing to put that effort? Today, most of them, I would say, and I admit that a lot of us, including me maybe sometimes, because the pressure is real, right? You want to deliver and you want to put out news there so quickly before the other competitor puts it out. So you're just like rushing towards ensuring that you're the first. Right? So in that race, I agree that sometimes it's milked down, like it's watered down, right? Your content may be watered down. It's really not as rich as one would expect. But yeah, the race is such that you end up putting up stuff or skimming stuff right from the above and presenting it. I disapprove of it, but what to do? It's basically such fast-paced, business or industry that everything has to come quick. But I'm not saying it happens everywhere and all the time. Especially, again, if you want to watch credible news and with a lot of depth, I would say India Today is one of the finer networks where we have a huge team. So that's also you're fast also because you have a huge team, and you have depth also because you have a huge team helping you gain that understanding and giving you sources quickly. I mean, information quickly from those sources, so you are able to collate information quicker. Yeah, also what's important to know is that we base our information based on police information and police records. So if you're talking about a factual story, then we go by the police records to start with. So police gives us, if there's a crime that's happened, police tells us how many they've arrested, what was the crime and what really happened. So we take that information and then base our story on that. So that's important to know, that our basis of facts are all police based information.
Okay, ma'am. So what is your opinion on the freedom given to media?
Yeah, I've been asked this question many times, and I think a lot of people expect or hope that I say there is no freedom. But I think what I should say, and what is the fact, is that I have never been told not to say something or do something. I've never been told. In my career span of 12 years, I'd honestly say that I've never been told to stop a story, to pull back on a story, or to say a certain thing or not to say a certain thing, right? Which is great, because that's exactly what misinformation does. People think that, oh, the media is controlled, the media is asked to say this certain way, or maybe people have their alignments and maybe people do have their favorites. But the fact is that being in the media and with different regional media and then with the national media, I've never been really told explicitly that you cannot do this. And I've done everything that I wanted to do. So freedom of media, I think, even though there is suspicion that it is not free, the fact is that I was lucky to have all the freedom.
So how do you think the ethical codes have changed, like from transition of traditional media to when it comes to like our now age digital media? What are the ethics that have changed?
That's what, people are so fast today because everyone wants to be faster than the other. You want to be the first, because if you're first and if you're fastest to break the news, you are able to keep your audience engaged, and people are somehow subscribed to you because they're like, I get the fastest news from here. Everybody wants to be number one in any profession. So that's the problem. Today, every news is watered down. News itself is watered down so much, and they want to just throw it quickly to the subscribers that they actually forget to follow facts sometimes. Yeah, that's the transition that I see from mainstream to digital. A lot of the news has become spicy. It's become noisy, and there's so much more drama that never used to be. And yeah, it's gotten a little less factual and more dramatic. Yeah.
So having said that, how do you handle a hostile or uncooperative interview?
Yeah, half of the politicians never want to answer your questions because they usually want to skip it. But yeah, you come back to it in circles. They circle, you circle around them. Right. Hostile interviews. See, it depends on who you're interviewing. If you're talking to a sports person, I think they're very, very sweet, grounded, and polite, and they very sweetly would say no comments, no comments. So that's not hostile. That's probably just a way to skip that question. They don't want to get into controversies, and understandable, right? Like, people don't want to get into controversies because there's a lot of trauma to deal with the controversy if you're in one. Right? Even if I as a journalist get into a controversy tomorrow, I can only imagine the stress. Today, stars are finding it hard to deal with trolls, random trolls, for doing nothing. Imagine you get into a controversy, then what kind of trolling you'll have to face. I face trolls on my social media platforms for nothing that I do. People just assume something that I may be of a certain ideology, I may be of, without any facts. I would have said something in one report based on something. They will pick that, flesh that out, and troll you, and make try to malign your name. But you should get past this. Today we are living in this digital age where you'll have to face all this kind of experiences. A lot of them don't know how to cope with it. Yes, it's real that a lot of youngsters who don't know how to cope with this kind of digital explosion go into levels of depression. It's a fact that if you're so hooked on social media, and if you're also a social media influencer, and if you don't receive the love the way you're hoping and you receive more hate, you can go into depression, because a lot of us we've not been sensitized on how to deal with social media or your digital platforms, because information is so free and loose that all kinds of opinions come. Until you're in school and all of that, parents are so protective of you and they guide you so nicely, and then you get into social media and it's like boom, like everything is out there bare naked, and then there's no filter to anyone's mouth and their opinions. So how do you deal with that? So that's it's a little difficult to kind of stay away from controversies and hate and all of that.
So moving on from that, how do you think journalism has evolved over the past few years, and where do you see it in the future?
Yeah, evolution is inevitable. We grow. What I would say is, if you have to ask how have we evolved, I would say technology-wise, we've evolved exponentially, right? Today, we can use these small cameras that we see here and quickly set it up. Before, it used to be these huge cameras, huge setup, where you take hours for the whole setup to take place. Today, everything is mojo. When I say mojo, it's all on your mobile phone. So at the best of your news channels, all of us, like India Today, NDTV, your Times Network, all of them are banking on mobile phones for fast news. So, you know, and earlier if you had to go abroad and shoot, news channels used to spend huge money to send a whole crew. Today they send one journalist with one mobile phone. That's it. And a tripod. They say go shoot and come. You're the VJ, you're the video journalist and the photojournalist and the journalist and the editor and everything. So one person goes, does the whole shoot and comes back only on the phone and a tripod. All selfie cam, this, that. So that is the evolution that I would speak of, that's happened. But yeah, I wish we evolved also with our ethics. I feel we are today more commercial and less ethical. It's a fact, which I wish I didn't have to say, but it is.
Lastly, what qualifications does one need to become a journalist, and what advice would you give to the harsh reality for people who are aspiring to become journalists?
Harsh reality, I said so many. I think now you'll be demotivated to get into journalism. But I said, right, I speak for myself. I've been really thankful, and I can't say enough that I've been surrounded by great people. So I think the best advice to tell you how I've managed my way is to always have, mentors along your way, right? Like have someone who you're talking to constantly. So you're able to get one sense of direction. Because you'll be lost in the clutter. The world is so huge, especially media if you're talking about, it's such a huge industry and there are so many layers to it and it's so competitive that people will eat you up. If they see you as a talent or if they see you even remotely threatening their own career, they will ensure that they will work less on their own and work more on your downfall. You know what I mean? And it's a fact, I'm telling you, I faced it myself, that people are not very favorable, especially if you're someone who does well. And if you're opinionated and if you have a mind of your own, then be sure that you're not going to be getting a red carpet. That's how brutally honest I can be, that you're not going to get a red carpet. You will remember your school and your teachers and your friends all your life because this is only the place where you'll have the best cushion. It's not like this once you step out. And which is why I always have my heart home and my school and my friends here in Bangalore. I've moved to Delhi 3 years ago. And I always want to come back at a drop of a hat because I know that this is honest. That is competition. You know, and that even though I make friends there, I'm not saying no. Today I think this, if today I have to speak, I have a couple of friends who I enjoy my time with in Delhi as well. But the fact is that, you know, it's a competitive space and nobody is your friend in business. Yeah, so be ready to be alone. And the struggle, if you want to get on the top, then your struggle is alone. You can never have friends in the business. Very rarely. I'm not saying no, I'm not demotivating you, but I'm also ensuring that you know the reality, that it's not going to be easy for you to just walk in and have everybody say, oh hi Shreya, come on, let's do this with you. They're not going to do that. They'll in fact try as much as possible to cut you short. So don't let that happen. The only best way I think to break that barrier is to do what you're doing more. If you're good at something, keep doing it, irrespective of who thinks what. So tomorrow, every company wants to grow. So if you're working with a media firm, for example, even if there are 5 people trying to block your way up, the fact that you're constantly doing it, one day someone will see it and say, you know what, this girl or boy has the talent, she has the energy, we should try her. So one day your turn will come. Mera number aayega, no? That's real. That's real.
So the aspect of degrees or qualifications?
Yeah, qualification, I would say that I did my master's in mass communication, but in my channel there are engineers, there are doctors, there are people of all professions who have gotten into media. So media is, I think, that one field that takes in people from all over. It's all about the passion that you have. So if you're a great orator, if you can speak well and you have great camera presence, you could have been a waiter, they'll take you. I'm sorry, but to streamline that a bit, news channels today have made it quite a thing. If you want to be paid well, if you want to start with a good package, then you better well have journalism experience. In the sense, when I say experience, you should have at least your master's in mass communication. The master's degree is almost mandatory to start with a good pay scale. Otherwise, they won't value you much. In fact, you might not even get a job. You should just start early. It's funny if you've practiced engineering for like 10 years and then in the middle of your age you want to get into journalism. That won't happen like that. You got to start early. If you start early, then you sustain.
I'm sure if somebody prompting you with the news, sir, how do you read the news?
Well, so the fact is that newsreaders generally have a teleprompter right in front of us. So we have information fed in it, but it's not like as if they're feeding you all the information, right? They give you some points, and you got to, as a journalist, obviously I need to know a little of the history of that issue. A lot of times, a lot of the breaking news has no history. It could be as new as some crime that has happened in some place. But you as an anchor, if you've had experience, then you know how to speak around it. You ask what happened, where did it happen, who are those people involved. So those are the basic questions that you would generally ask, but just very few points that are prompted. The rest of it is based on your knowledge. So I think for a journalist, it's very important to read up a lot. The reading really, really helps. So that's the only way you can also grow in the field, because reading gives you a whole new dimension and gives you a thrust while speaking, makes you confident when you speak, because knowledge is power. It's a fact. So if you have the knowledge, then you can say it with conviction. So yeah.
So apart from reading, are there any other hobbies that one needs to inculcate for being a good
Journalist, I as a hobby, I think anything to decombust, right, or de-stress. You got to, it's such a stressful job, journalism, because one thing that I certainly would say that is you can't unplug yourself as a journalist. You will probably get a call at 1 a.m. in the night, and they'll say, oh my God, this is breaking, and this is from Karnataka, we need your expertise, you've got to run and come. Or you got to get on the phone, or you got to get on a Zoom call, but we want your live now. So you can't unplug as a journalist. Or if you're a reporter, then you have people, victims, or someone who's been harassed from somewhere calling you in the middle of the night, or saying, trying to get your attention at whatever part of the day. So you should be sure that if you're a journalist, then you're wired. There's no gaps or breaks, and be prepared for that. And that's also the thrill of it. I can't say fun, it's basically passion. And I know of journalists who have quit their careers and are feeling such FOMO that they're like, I want to get back to journalism, but I'm tired. But I still want to get nothing like journalism. Once they get out of journalism, they say nothing like journalism, because it is like that. Journalism is like that. It's a holistic feeling. You feel excitement, you feel thrill, you feel disappointment, you feel anger, you feel hate, you feel everything. It's a mix of all emotion, heightened. So yeah, be prepared to be fully plugged if you're a journalist or a news anchor. Yeah.
It was extremely wonderful interacting with you.
Thank you.
And we thank Ms. Nabila Jamal for taking time off her busy schedule. We would also like to thank our management and principal for giving this wonderful opportunity to us to be a part of this Career Talk series. We hope our viewers have gained an insight into the nuances of journalism as a career. Stay tuned for the next episode as we dive deeper into the various career options that lie ahead of us. Thank you.